Hi there, it's Denise Eckert, and I love coming on here and sharing different ideas and ways to reduce the stress in your life. And today I've got Stephanie Affinito, and she's a book-loving, notebook-hoarding, literacy educator on a mission to change lives one book and one notebook at a time. She blogs about the power of leading literate lives and podcasts weekly on books and reading, writing and notebooks, and everything in between for both adults and children on her weekly podcast, Get Lit, Erupt, and Kidlit Love. Well, welcome, Stephanie.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to chat with you today.
And I'm a book lover, so this is great. Now,
Yeah.
what inspired you to do this type of work?
Well, honestly, I would say inspiration came when I was a tiny little girl who just loved reading and writing. As far back as I can remember, reading and writing were always just things that I loved to do. I always had a book in my hand. I always had a notebook close by. I would choose reading and writing over pretty much anything when I was young. And so it was just this natural thing that I did often. I felt like books and notebooks were my friends, they were my therapists, they were my escape, they were my everything. But when I was a teenager, I was really sick. I had some sort of mysterious thing at the time that took a really long time to figure out. And books and notebooks were really the only things that I could manage to do. I was in and out of hospitals, out of doctors' offices, out of clinics, and never once did books or notebooks leave me. They were always there, they were always accessible, and I really came to rely on them as a tool for just kind of surviving during that time. And so I knew I always loved to read and write, but I didn't quite understand the power that it could have until then. And that's really what cemented my desire to just spend the rest of my life doing something with reading and writing. And for me, that turned out to be teaching. First as an elementary teacher, then as a reading specialist and a coach. And now I work at a university and I teach teachers who want to teach kids how to read. So it's just been this beautiful career that started way, way, way back with the monster at the end of this book, which is the first book I can ever remember reading.
Now, you talk a little bit about the research and the benefits of reading. Can you go into that a little bit or a lot?
I Yeah, I say I can go into it. This is my favorite thing to share with people because we grow as we are adults. It is so hard to give ourselves permission for self-care, to just relax, to not do something that crosses something off of the list.
I'd love for you to share a little bit about the research or a lot about the research because I've actually never heard any research about books and reading and what it actually can do for us.
So then you're my favorite kind of person to talk to because this often feels really good to someone who already loves to read and write and then realizes the health benefit it has. So just by engaging, if we start with reading first, just by engaging in the act of reading, moving our eyes left to right across a page again and again and again, whether that is a physical paper page or a digital e-reader page. What happens because of that left to right movement and that kind of meditative state? It actually changes our body at a cellular level. Research has showed that our heart rate reduces, our breathing rate reduces, our blood pressure decreases, our muscles relax. And if we do those things over time, then that contributes to better sleep, less stress reduction, and some of my favorite bits of research, less inflammation in the body, increased function in relation to liver panels and immunology just by engaging in the act of reading and writing because we are physically calming our nervous system in ways that don't allow us to multitask because we are have our eyes on the paper, whether that's something we're reading or something we're writing, and it literally calms our nervous system down. At a physical level, our bodies just exhale when we read and when we write. And I'm going to ask you to guess. Can you guess how many minutes of reading it might take for our bodies to start to respond in that way?
Let's say maybe 10 minutes.
Six.
Six.
Just six. Research shows, yeah, it only takes 6 minutes to get your body into that relaxed state. But if you keep going, a really exciting piece of research shows that if you read for 30 minutes straight, then you have the same impact on your parasympathetic nervous system as if you did 30 minutes of yoga. Now, your muscles don't feel the same, but your nervous system feels just as relaxed. The act of reading really does change our bodies on a cellular level that over time can add up and multiply and really have positive impacts on our life, on our well being, and even our lifespan. Readers have been shown in longitudinal research to live up to 2 years longer than the rest of the non reading population. And that's just the physical side. If we jump to the emotional side, there are a lot of studies that show that reading and writing helps regulate our emotions. It helps bring more of what we want, like happiness or positive outlooks or just feeling of contentment. And it's been shown to reduce things like chronic stress, anxiety, even depression. Now, it kind of depends there what you read and write. So I like to talk about the benefits of reading and writing in three levels. Level one is that your physical body will feel better if you simply engage in reading and writing. That's level one. But level two is if you're very strategic about what you read and write, you can bring certain benefits to you that you're looking for. So in reading, the reason this happens so well is because of our mirror neurons. So whenever we witness something happen to someone else, the mirror neurons in our brain are firing, not to the same level and intensity as if it were happening to us. But when we watch a scary movie, those scary movie neurons get activated in our brain. It's also true if you're watching something happening in real life, and research shows if you're reading. So if you're trying to become a certain identity or feel a certain way or learn how to do something new, you can actually prime your brain and prime your mind by reading things that are going to help you feel that way and embrace that identity and do those things. And those neurons are going to fire in your mind. So if you're very careful and strategic and read certain things and write in certain ways that'll help you be, feel, and do whatever you want to be, feel, and do, that's that second layer of research. As another example, in writing, if you are trying to change your mindset to be more positive, to be more growth oriented, to be more grateful, then research shows gratitude writing or the one a day journal is something that's for you. But if you're someone who lives with chronic pain, like I did, or chronic symptoms like migraines or dizziness or any other chronic thing, then the kind of writing that will bring you the most benefit is expressive writing, where you're literally writing the burdens off of your body. So in those layers, we've got level one, read and write, and good things will happen to your physical body. Layer two, read and write things that are just right for you, and it will help you be, do, and feel the way you want to. And then the third layer, which is kind of the icing on the cake, is taking action in your own life as a result of what you're learning. So if you're reading things to feel better, you might feel better and have ideas about how to change something in your life that could then have a domino effect in your actual one. Or if you're writing and you're uncovering things on the page that point to aspects of your life that maybe need to shift or change or be reconsidered, and you actually do that, that's when we really get those benefits. So there's benefits in just sitting down and enjoying a good book, and the benefits multiply if you actually take some steps once you close the book or the notebook. That was a very long-winded
That's good.
explanation, Denise.
That's good. Now, does it make a difference if there is like a screen reader, like a Kindle, or an actual paper? Are there any benefits for either one?
So really the research shows, at least the research that we have right now that I'm talking about, is when you are reading things that are printed in front of you. Whether that's on an old-fashioned physical book or a digital e-reader doesn't matter. It's that your eyes are moving left to right, left to right, left to right to lull your body into that state. So the question is, what about audiobooks? And now audiobooks 100% is real reading. I want to make that very, very clear. Audiobooks is the same thing as reading a regular book. However, when we are reading audiobooks, we're typically multitasking. we're doing the dishes, making dinner, walking the dog, we are not focused and allowing ourselves to sink into the experience, which means we can't uncover those physical benefits that might come if we were sitting still in one place and occupying our eyes. So at least right now, the research behind the why is that our eyes are doing some of that work, which is sending that signal to our nervous system that all is okay.
Yeah. And it's funny too, the different kinds of books. Like I know for myself, I use reading to get to sleep. So it's my wind down at the end of the day. But it depends on how I feel. I usually have non-complicated books where I'm not dealing with a huge character list. It's two characters, three characters. And then there's other times where I have had a very stressful day and I'll just read an Archie book. I still have
Yes,
my Archie books. And then
yes,
I have a group of books that I wake up way too early. So what I do is I read the motivational books, the inspirational books. Now, can you talk about the different kinds of books that do different things to our nervous system?
yes. I would love to. And I always tell people there is no one right way to do this. It could be morning reading, afternoon reading, nighttime reading. It could be nonfiction. It could be poetry. It could be a deep, dark mystery versus the lightest rom-com that you have ever seen. And the idea is that, as you mentioned, it fits you where you are in that moment. So I always ask people to think of three things when it comes to figuring out what book they want to read next. And I don't know if you know this quote, but it's one of my favorites from Jim Rohn. It's been repeated by, I think, millions of people. But the quote is, "You are the average of the five people you spend the most time with." Have you heard that? Yeah. And so I like to think of that as, what if I was the average of the last five books that I've read? So it's not that every book has to be agonized over with these three questions. It's just thinking that maybe the books I read actually influence the way I feel and the things that I might do in my life. And so those three questions are very basic. The first is, who do I want to be? Right? Do you want to be a poet? Do you want to be a gardener, a better mom, a better partner, someone who's more organized or productive? That's question one. Question two is, how do I want to feel? Do I want to feel more relaxed in this particular season? Do I want to feel more connected to other people? What's a word or two that could describe how you want to feel? And then the third is, what do you want to do? We're moving into the summer season. What do you want to do? Do you want family gatherings? Do you want fun? Do you want adventure? Do you want wanderlust? And the responses to those questions can point us to the kinds of books, the kinds of genres that might be right for us. So if you're leaning into personal development, growth, wanting to feel good in your own skin or full of self-love, then you might lean towards poetry or memoirs of people who have done the thing and felt the feeling that you're trying to do. Or if you're in a season where you want to do more, get out more, travel more, then maybe you lean into nonfiction. I have a whole kind of decision tree that helps people pinpoint what their genre is, but I just tell people, go with your gut. Ask yourself those three questions, think about what you might need, and then what intuitively do you think the right genre might be? And then just spend some time browsing, Googling, asking your favorite librarian, your bookseller, going online. And the bottom line is, any book can give us inspiration. And sometimes the books that I needed were the books I didn't know I needed, but I
Hmm.
picked them up anyway at a recommendation or gave it a shot. And so you never know what kind of inspiration might be waiting for you in a book. And so you try it. Try it on for size, see how it feels, and then go from there.
Now, do you have any recommendations for someone that is listening here and is feeling stressed and they want to start using reading as one of the tools? What do you recommend?
One of my favorite routines, my favorite rituals, my favorite thing to recommend to people is to create a pause pile, like Pause, like press pause pile. And what a pause pile is just a stack of books, maybe even just two or three, that you place physically in your line of vision throughout the day. And in that pause pile are books that are going to make you feel less stress, to feel better, to feel calmer. A book like Self Love Poetry by Melody Godfred, a book like Heart Talk by Cleo Wade, or Kokoro by Beth Kempton. These are typically, I want to say, personal development, short essay collection, short poems that if you had a stack of these books that you could see and that were close by, whenever you started to notice yourself in the day getting stressed, whenever you felt the emotions rising or the temper flaring or just the frustration building, that pause pile can be the reminder that all you need is 6 minutes of reading something that feels good to calm the physical response in your body to then help you make decisions for how you want to act next. I find that my pause pile has saved me many, many times. It's just a little time out in a busy day. And because these are books that don't have to be read cover to cover, left to right, you can open them up, pop them open to wherever, set your timer for 6 minutes, and then decompress and see how you feel after. I find that's a really easy way to get back into a reading routine and to quickly show you how it can impact your physical body throughout the day and bring you that stress relief that either you know you needed or maybe you even didn't know you needed. But the pause pile is one of my favorites.
You mentioned some type of roadmap to figure out what genre to read. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, it all starts again with really two questions. How do you feel right now? And how do you want to feel next? Are you feeling frustrated or overwhelmed or tired or exhausted and you want to feel less of those things? Or are you feeling okay, but you want fun and adventure and you want to get out of Dodge and you can't? The roadmap is just a specific set of questions that will help point you in the direction of the genre and perhaps the content of the book that you need next. And the same thing goes with writing. How do you feel right now in the current moment? How do you want to feel next? And so, what could you do on the page in order to get you closer to that feeling? There's just a certain kind of magic that happens on the page, whether you're taking the words in or putting the words out yourself, that has that effect on your physical body, but really can impact the way you feel on your way out of that reading and writing as well.
I have a few people I've come across lately, and I just tell them, why don't you just go to bed, pick out a good book, and relax and read the book? And I can't concentrate. I can't read. And they get
Mhm.
frustrated with reading. Are there any techniques that you can do to get past that point where you can start relaxing and enjoying to read again?
Well, I have two answers for that. The first answer, if someone says that nighttime reading is too hard, they can't shut their brain down, they can't focus, the first thing I would suggest is to try writing at night instead of reading, because a lot of times writing in a brain dump kind of way before bed, research has shown will take that stress, that cognitive chaos, and put it on the page, give it a place to go. And so then your body, your mind can settle down a little bit, which then means either you'll be ready for bed or maybe your brain will be a bit readier for a book. But if writing isn't something that someone is excited to do or willing to try, and they really do want to stick with that reading routine at night, which I love, I would suggest light reads that do not require too much concentration. And I say that tongue in cheek because all reading requires some concentration. But a book that perhaps can be read in small doses, has small chapters, and is short, or a bit of inspiring nonfiction so that there isn't something that you have to follow night after night after night, and you're just giving this to your brain in small doses. And start small. 3 minutes of reading, one page of reading, and see if you can go from there. Because a lot of people who say that very sentiment that you have about reading, they just don't allow themselves to turn their brains off very much. And that is a skill that has to be learned and developed. And so taking it slowly and just giving yourself the pat on the back for what you do actually accomplish in that reading, and then see how you can build it from there is probably the way I would recommend.
And I like to back it up. So, can you explain brain dump for people who are listening who don't know what a brain dump is? I
Yes.
do. I use it all the time, but
Oh, yes. Yeah, the brain dump is my favorite. We can get technical and call it what the research calls it, which is cognitive unloading on the page. And basically, it takes all of those things that swirl around in your mind all of the time, and it puts them on a piece of paper to hold their place so that you don't have to constantly worry about them and juggle them. So it could be the things from your to-do list, the things that you're worried about, the things you know that are on your radar that are coming, the birthday gifts you have to pick up, the work demands, the things you're frustrated with. It really is a versatile writing experience where you could set a timer, list absolutely everything that is renting space in your mind that doesn't feel good to be there, and get it all out on the page. Now, in some of the research studies, the brain dump stops there. And that is enough to make a lot of people feel better, to just see the list and know, okay, I'm not going to drop a ball. I'm not going to forget about it. It's right here. But what I love to do is then get two different colored highlighters. I always love yellow and pink. They just make me happy. And you look at your list and you highlight all of the things on the list that you can control, right? So only the things that you can control. And then you see based on your list what is worth worrying about, what is not, what can you do something about. And so I look at all those yellowed, highlighted items, and then I just choose one to do something about in the moment. One little small piece of low-hanging fruit, because I get great satisfaction in crossing that off of the list. And then I pick one of the things that I cannot do anything about, I can't control, and I ask myself, how can I control my response to it instead? And that's from two other pieces of research that show we can change the way we perceive things happening to us by doing that. And that's how I like to combine them, because the brain dump feels really good, but then taking action in a better way rather than ruminating on all of those things is always a step that feels really good for me next. I used to have just a notebook that was for all the brain dumps that I have done. It's kind of shocking and fascinating to see how many thoughts float around in our heads all day.
it is. I have a notebook beside my bed, so when I do wake up at who knows whatever time, and then
Yeah.
I've got things just da 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 da, da, and I just jot it down, and it's an amazing practice. Like it really,
Yes.
because you have that certainty that you're not going to forget about it. So rather
Hmm.
than trying to keep remembering it or trying, oh my God, I'm going to forget to do this. And then most of the times you will forget to do it because it's
Yeah.
3 o'clock in the morning and then when you wake up, you've got 50 other things coming at you, right? It's like,
Yes. Yes, that is it. I have one by my bed too for exactly the same reason.
wonderful. Okay, we're going to be wrapping this up now, Stephanie. What are your final words of wisdom to the audience today?
My final words of wisdom would be to give yourself the gift of just 6 minutes and try this out and see how it feels. See how it feels to have a pause pile where you reach for a book for 6 minutes instead of spiraling downward like you might have in a stressful state. See what it feels like to pick up the notebook and to do the brain dump or some other kind of writing that is calling your name. And just give yourself that permission slip to do that for yourself, to see how it feels, and to just consider that a whole world of self-care and wellness is sitting in front of you, often free at the library or a dollar notebook from the bookstore, that could support you in ways that you might not have considered and really are just between you and the book and the notebook. So it's something that can be done anytime, anywhere, and is something that could make you feel better that you didn't entertain before.
And I just got to put a word in. I love my library because They will put a reading list together for me, and it's a
Okay.
service that they provide. And then once you read it, you can give them the feedback, and they find similar books. And it's just so amazing some of the things that they find for me.
Yeah.
And oh, I just love it. It's just so great because you're not doing all this research trying to figure out what you want. Plus, you know it's available in the library.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I don't
that
want
was,
to buy any more books. I moved a few times ago and I ended up having to take, I don't know, it was like 2 truckloads of books to I had to donate it because I'm
yes.
not moving into a library. And they are the heaviest to move. And I still have a lot of
Yeah.
books, but if I can get it from the library or borrow it for someone, that's my first go-to. So
Yes. Yeah. Libraries are amazing places. I'm glad you gave that shout out to them.
yeah,
Yeah, booksellers, librarians, bookish people, and people are usually pretty willing to recommend a book or to share a book that they loved. And as you said, you don't have to buy it. You can borrow it, maybe even get some of them for free in Google Books or Libby or your Overdrive app, which makes this a really accessible way to feel better too.
awesome. Well, thank you, Stephanie, for your time today. Great information. And I'm just leaving you all a gentle reminder to slow down and read and enjoy life.
Perfect reminder.
And I'll
Thank
see you in the next episode.